Thursday, August the 4th, 2022, and I'm not where I should be today by a long stroke. This is the Red Lion in Chelmondiston near Ipswich, Suffolk. I was planning to be down in the Surrey Hills today, but once again the trains have messed up. It's pretty nigh on impossible to get anywhere through London from my station, so at the very last minute I've come out to Suffolk via Cambridge and no problems at all getting here, and I'm about to undertake a 10-mile circular of the Shotley Peninsula. So out of adversity comes this backup walk, which I was planning to do at some future point, but it turns out it's being done today, and lucky I am to have a GPS facility, and I can just follow the GPX track, touch wood. It's around 1:15 now. It's taken me around 3 hours to get here, and as you can see, it's a very, very busy village. Can't believe it, to be honest with you. Piccadilly Circus comes to mind, and we're in deepest Suffolk. Anyway, let's see what awaits. The walk starts for me right next door to the Red Lion, opposite the bus stop and next to the return bus stop as well, so that's handy. And I'm doing it in an anti-clockwise direction for logistics. And as it is quite late, I'm not sure where I'll be having my lunch. The plan would have been to have it at Shotley Gate, which is about halfway round, but let's see. Don't know if I better last that long. 50 yards later, we come out into open countryside, and you can see the busy port facilities down there of what I guess is Felixstowe, although it depends which side of the bank it's on. Got a decent day, about 25 degrees, and a bit of a breeze, but quite humid still. Interesting field mix here on my right. Potatoes and some cereal, which on the whole has been cut already. Just approaching some woodland here, known as Rents Park on the map, and I can hear some buzzards mewing somewhere in the distance. As you can see, this is an official path diversion, but it must be quite an old diversion, because I'm following a country walking magazine route today, so this walk is courtesy of them. And yeah, I'm not quite sure when their GPX track was made, but it's this route for sure. Just on my left is a lovely spreading oak and a property, and we go on pretty much straight ahead here through cooling woodland, and it looks mainly like laurel, although I don't think it is. Not sure about that. Got some timber operations going on behind me. We turn left on this lane for a short distance. There are lots of vegetables grown down this way, I notice. Spring onions, some kind of cabbage here, I think, but they look awfully dry and wilted. Don't know if they're going to be edible. Terrible. Really do need a week's rain, persistent drenching type, not flash flood types that we're currently getting on the odd occasion. Just past some cottages here, first one of which is Rosemary Cottage, and as you can see here, they've had the water cannons out, and in South East England, Kent, they've banned that. I don't think that applies to farmers though, obviously. It's domestic households. We're still okay in Hertfordshire. Our reservoirs are still around 80% full, according to Anglian Water, who I assume control the water supply down here as well. Some kind of bird of prey has just flown into that woodland over there. Didn't get a chance to film it or properly identify it, but I'd imagine it was a sparrowhawk, and it had something in its talons, so it's obviously disturbed it walking past, having his lunch. Wonderful afternoon now. Or, from the noise I'm just hearing up there, it could be youngsters being fed, and therefore possibly it didn't look big enough to be a buzzard. Anyway, whatever they are, the youngsters have just had that poor creature. Just walking down Warren Lane on the map, with New Covert Woodland on my right, mainly Scots pine within it. Just passing a pig farm on my left, and thankfully I'd imagine most of them are under the covers here in their little pens. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Felixstowe on the banks of the Orwell. We'll soon find out. One or two brave souls have come out. Not sure they've got any mud to bathe in. That one's pregnant. Some lovely yellow flowers here alongside this field edge. And I read somewhere that I think we've just celebrated Moth Day, or Night in their case, for the most part. And butterflies are doing very well this year as well, by all accounts. Certainly some interesting moths around, and plenty of them from what I've seen. Elephant hawk moths, wonderful creatures. Quite sandy underfoot, so even after rain I don't think this walk would be too problematic. So there you go, by all accounts somewhere along the line there we passed Pond Farmhouse with its information panels on farm hedges, and something to ponder. And there we have Irwalton House, which to me looks like the sort of thing that a city stockbroker would buy, or hedge fund manager. Wonderful, eh? Sorry, it's actually Irwalton Hall, not house. Just after Irwalton Hall Farm, take this path on the right, next to this wooden barn, or just after it. Yeah, the sun's gone behind a cloud now, so that westerly northwesterly breeze becomes that little bit cooler. Welcome, mind you. Lovely collection of sweet chestnut trees here. And as you can see in the far distance, some fellow walkers. First off past today, thankfully. Very sensible horses there, under the shade of that chestnut tree, the spreading chestnut tree. There's a reservoir down there according to the map, and you can see from the far bank how much water has disappeared. And in the far distance you can see the Orwell. Small information panel here about using water wisely. Bit ironic. And the big 3 for farmland birds. Safe nesting habitat, plenty of food for chicks in the summer, plenty of food through the winter. Sounds a bit like my diet really. So at this juncture, do not continue on straight towards the Orwell, but take a sharp left here, where this finger post would be. It's backed up by another one just a couple of yards further on. And we're now following something called the Stour and Orwell walk. And as you can see, a week on, the blackberries down this way are not quite as advanced as the ones near me. What a lovely blossom to these potatoes. I assume they're potatoes. They're banked up. Lovely. And they do give off a lovely aroma as well. Wonderful. Continues straight on towards the cranes in the distance. As a kite. They've even got down here. Amazing. He's flying around over there. Walking past more spring onions. Views of the Orwell over there on my right. Wonderful. I can hear jet noise mildly in the background, but nothing too untoward. Probably Southend Airport, I would guess. Now the commercial landscape of Felixstowe comes into play. Well, I wasn't expecting this sunshine this afternoon, I can assure you that. Once again the Met got it wrong. Sunny intervals clouding over in the afternoon, they told me this morning. So yeah, I'm going to fry today. Interesting to see that the seeds of these, yeah, they're not cow parsley, but whatever they were, have gone black now. Wild cabbage or carrot maybe, not sure. And again behind it, the haws just starting to turn. Interesting looking property here. We do not go straight on at this juncture, but take the right towards the Orwell. So this is Shotley Cottage per the map, built in 1905 according to that crest I just filmed. And there's a hare over there picking up speed. Bit hot for running, mate. That's it, you have a rest in the shade. Good idea. Pretty decent view on my right here. Got a bit of the floodplain as well, it comes into focus. Well, they say out of adversity, this is far superior to the walk I had planned, I feel, from memory, because it was to be a revisit to one I did 12 years back. Well, there's a tight little path here down by the Orwell, which Suffolk County Council have maintained well. And there we have a young oyster catcher, I believe. Shows how close we are to the Orwell now. Smell seaweed as well. I think the tide's on its way in. And then on the left hand side you've got these wheat fields, I think they are. Interesting contrasts, this walk. And once again I've noticed this in a number of estuaries around Essex and now into Suffolk. You get this oak growing next to the estuary. Must be a special kind of oak that can adapt to the salty environment. Good to see. Okay, at this juncture you've got two options. One is marked coastal path down on my right, which I suspect may not be possible today, knowing my luck, because the tide's in. Or you continue on straight through the woods, which doesn't bother me, but let's go and see if the coastal path is open. Well, we might be in luck, because it looks like a lot of work's been done on strengthening the fortifications against the Orwell. And it is a still day today, so I guess on a stormy day you'd have to take the Woodland route. But let's give it a go, see if I can get through here. So I guess the fact that there's a litter bin and a seat there tells me that this is probably a fairly decent path. And there's an information panel here about Irwalton Bay, which is pretty much where we're at. Although the OS map shows this as Cockle Creek. My GPS was just informing me there that we're exactly 4 miles into the walk at this point. So although this would make a pleasant lunchtime stop, I'm going to press on just to be safe, because there is a picnic site marked on the map as well in Shotley Gate, but that will be busier for sure. This is a far more pleasing environment for me, I feel. Not dissimilar to my usual cemetery stop. Yeah, they've even got dog waste bins out here, so Suffolk County Council look like a good one. And there's another possibility here. And another information panel. Information panel here about the Suffolk Coast and Heaths AONB, if you want to research that on Google. Yeah, I might well take my lunch here actually, rather than get into the hustle and bustle of Shotley Gate, which I know is popular. So it's just over 4 miles in, 2:30, lunch is served. Right, lunch has been had, just gone 3, and very pleasant it was. And I knew I'd get the pronunciation of Chelmondiston wrong. Just talking to a couple of local people, and they put me right. So let's press on. And as you can see, the water has come right in now. So the locals were telling me there's no problem getting through up ahead. Good to know. There is an escape route anyway up these steps, so very well catered for here. So there's another couple of seats not much further on as well. So plenty of picnic spots here before we get into the crowds, no doubt, ahead. Now looking at this seawater reminds me of what I've been discussing over the last few weeks, and that is desalination. By all accounts, desalination, because there is one plant at Beckton which desalinates the River Thames at certain heavy demand times. But apparently the problem with it is it uses a lot of energy, ironically. But I think that could be offset, you know, with a decent biomass plant or something of that ilk. I wouldn't say it's a cost problem these days, and we certainly do need to consider it. I mean, the government this week, what's left of it, have been talking about shifting water from one part of the country to another. Well, you know, Joe Public has been talking about that for the last 50 years. So why hasn't it been done previously? Absolutely ridiculous. As I said before, spend all that money on HS2, and yet they can't shift water around the country for a fraction of that cost. But ultimately, with rising sea levels, it's just a no-brainer. Desalination. So Shotley Pier ahead of me, and there's the picnic site that's marked on the map, and as I suspected, it is busy, so just as well I stopped where I did. Passing the Bristol Arms. There's a fund here to restore the pier. Difficult to tell how well it's doing. Looks like a certain section of it has been restored, so maybe as they get the money they're restoring it. But the end section certainly needs some restoration. Yeah, I wonder how much these went for. London money, no doubt. So those cranes I could see are actually loading these giant barges effectively, and Evergreen is the name of the company that had that one break down in the Suez a couple of years back, remember? Closed the Suez and nearly threatened all our supplies. What an amazing couple of years we've had when you think about it. Some very large vessels there, one of which is currently moving, loaded up with containers, making the most of the high tide. Yeah, certainly modern looking premises. As we enter Shotley Marina, passing the HMS Ganges Museum, which I know nothing about. Google the HMS Ganges if you wish to learn more. Interesting location for it though. Down in Shotley Gate. So just here you have a lock gate, and this is the onward journey, or the bridge that I've just had to come across to continue my journey. Marina fuel prices, very similar to those at the pump in the for the cars, isn't it? All controlled by mission control up there. Pretty self-explanatory. Plenty more opportunities here for picnicking. Certainly is a big marina. Well, that is an unusual sight. A swallow in the marina. There are a number of them flying around his dead body as well. Wondered what the noise was about. So it must have happened recently, and they must be remembering his soul, or her soul. Poor thing. That's this week's death. There usually is one. It's not a shrew this time either. But irrespective of the environment, I usually find something. God rest your soul. So here is Felixstowe in all its glory. One of the major ports of our country. Taking these giant containers from China, bringing in all your Amazon orders, eBay orders, etc, etc. Yeah, an amazing place, eh? Wonder if that's just a plain and simple water tower up over there. Certainly are an abundance of swallows here, I must give it that. So you've got all the hubbub of Felixstowe Port on the other side of the Orwell, and on this side you've got ringed plovers nesting. And such a rare bird it is, they've had to save their eggs from being trampled on or washed away by fencing off their area, nesting area. Yep, per the map, that's an old water tower. As we say goodbye to Shotley, I'm now on Shotley marshes. As usual on these marshy lands, cattle roam. Luckily there's a very large ditch between them and me, and I'm up on the storm bank. Well, the old ringed plover must have long since been and gone. Parting shot of Felixstowe. As the tide, as you can see here, is starting to fill up this back area now. But the ringed plover will know what's safe. Wonderful, you've got your own private beaches here. And this is school holidays, ultra busy at the main resorts like Aldborough, etc, etc. Loving this, nice and peaceful. Got something here called a landscape lens. which is exactly 7 miles into the walk, I may add. Not sure what the landscape lens is looking at, but there you go, that's what I'm looking at. River Orwell Sporting and Conservation Club. Can the two things coexist? This is the question. I think not, probably. Glorious, eh? Now that's a new one on me. Arthur Ransom's East Coast. That's one to Google later. We're also, obviously, walking part of the New England Coast Path, although I haven't seen any signs to indicate that yet. There's another section down that I haven't previously done. So walking alongside this field of thistles, absolutely full of them, we come off this field edge path and there's a hole in the hedge here which you might miss if you're not careful. There's a cormorant as opposed to a shag. Cormorant has the big white cheeks. Not drying his wings at the moment, so hasn't been diving. Very impressed with Suffolk County Council's footpath maintenance today. Even out here, look, they've done just sufficient to allow the walker to pass, but without damaging the verges or the accompanying flower borders. Very good. I haven't seen too much plastic on the Orwell today, but there is some. Not as bad as some rivers that I've seen. Nonetheless, still about. On the other bank. Just at Collimer Point on the map, looking at the marina on the opposite bank, and we're now walking westerly into the wind. Cooling breeze it is more like. Might be a different story on a cold November day or March. Just passing Man's Cliff over there on the map, that outcrop, and we'll soon be hitting National Trust territory from what I see on the map. Just ahead of this barn here, don't take the left variant, continue straight on alongside the Orwell. One or two slows out here, matching my own area. Generally though, not as advanced. And there's some rose hips as well, still very green. Back out into agricultural country on my left, with the Orwell on my right still. Again, good work by the council or volunteers. Views back whence I've come. Cracking afternoon. Some young infill trees being planted here as well, likely oaks I'd imagine. They don't want to take the view totally, but they could do with a few more of these old boys. A bit sparse up this way. Okay, 5 o'clock on the button. just having passed Clamp House. We're now doing a little bit of woodland walking through the National Trust's Pin Mill Cliff Plantation. There's a pew with a view here in loving memory of Shirley Patrick, 31 to 2015, good age, from adoring husband William. There's her vista, lovely. Absolutely silent in this woodland, save a few pigeons, and that's been the case throughout the walk today. I think we've seen a few swallows, well, quite a few swallows, a few herons, a couple of egrets, plenty of gulls, a few wading birds which I don't know the names of, might have been turnstones. We didn't see the ring plovers, but generally speaking very quiet on the bird front today. Obviously come in May, different story. But you've got to time this walk just at the right time of year really. You don't want it to be damp underfoot, which it might be in a few places. But today has been absolutely superb. Although we could do with the rain, to be honest. Okay, 10 miles has just passed. Just under 4 hours. As we leave Pin Mill. And a decent section of woodland walking that was as well, to add variety to today's walk. Wonderful. So I actually missed the pub where this walk starts from, but not to worry. We're now almost back in Chelmondiston. And just to cap the day off, we have a church. The parish church of St Andrew. So although I didn't get the starting point car park stroke pub on film today, I've got a church in. A bit bland, if truth be told. Looks like it's almost made of concrete. Would be interesting to know when it was built. But unusual in the sense that it's got crabapple tree outside the entrance. Passing the post office stroke village stores, which is opposite the Red Lion. So, 5:30, 4 hours 11 minutes and 10.6 miles later, and that was a very good walk. Glad that the railways messed up earlier, because I wouldn't have done this for a while yet if it hadn't been for that. But it had lots of variety, woodlands, coast, agricultural, and highly recommended. So thanks to Julie, who recommended this area. I checked this walk out, and Country Walking magazine did have one down here. So here we go, a very good walk, highly recommended. And you know, if you catch it at the right time of year, you might even get more bird sounds on it, for sure. But you don't want to be too damp underfoot, although I don't think there's much chance of that with the soils that we have down here. So, that's another good day's walking undertaken. I'm now going to check out Law's Chinese takeaway. Incredibly, this little village has a Chinese takeaway, because I've got an hour to wait now until the bus arrives. But that's no problem. Sit in this bus shelter and tuck in. Great day. Till the next time.